Our planet is full of stunning natural features, but in many ways, some of the most incredible formations develop deep within the ground beneath our feet. These elements have been heated and cooled over millions of years to form complex structures that are incredible to see. So here are the top 15 most beautiful crystals. Number 15. Rhodochrosite. Most commonly found in the silver mines of Romania, but also known as the national mineral of Argentina and of Colorado. Rhodochrosite is a form of manganese carbonate. It requires very similar conditions to silver to form, and only ever develops in low temperature ore deposits, and in its purest form has stunning rose-red crystals. It's unusual to find one unblemished, however, and the presence of other minerals within the crystal will darken the color to pink or light brown. As it's normally found in silver mines, rhodochrosite was historically discarded because its presence severely disrupts the process of extracting and refining the silver. However, in recent decades, it's become useful in its own right as a source of manganese, which is used to create certain aluminum alloys and low-cost stainless steel formula. Only occasional rhodochrosite crystals are deemed worthy of being kept as decorative objects, and its relative softness means it's incredibly difficult to cut into faceted stones. This only adds to the collectability of it, however, and there's nothing else quite like a perfect specimen of banded rhodochrosite. Number 14. Scolasite. The first recorded discovery of scolasite was from a mine in Germany in 1813, but since then it's been found in a wide range of different places, including Iceland, India, Scotland, Brazil, California, and even Antarctica. Chemically, it's a hydrated calcium silicate that can also contain traces of aluminum, sodium, or potassium, and the crystals it forms are classed as monoclinic, which means they're made up of vectors that are unequal in length. The result is that they can develop in a variety of different ways, but will usually feature a series of needle-like structures that are normally flattened on one side. Perfect specimens are often referred to as flowers and look very similar to some species of sea urchin. But while the needles may look tough, they're actually extremely delicate, which means it's tricky to remove them from the ground without breaking them. While pure scolasite is either completely colorless or white, its ability to incorporate other elements means that it can also take on a pink, red, or even green hue, and in many ways, these ones are rarer and more highly prized by collectors. Number 13. Azurite. Originally known in the 1800s as chessylite because most of the world's supply had come from the commune of Chessy-les-Mines in eastern France, azurite, as it's now called, has been a popular stone from as far back as the ancient Greeks and Romans. It's normally found close to the surface and is used as an indicator that there are richer copper deposits below, with the best specimens found in Arizona, France, Namibia, Mexico, and Australia. Known for its deep and clear blue coloration, in geology it's classified as a basic carbonate and actually contains two different types of copper within it. It's this that gives it the vivid color, and it's why it's popular with collectors. But it's not actually very stable in open air and must be kept away from bright lights, otherwise there's a risk of it fading. Azurite can develop incredible crystals, which makes it a perfect display piece, but those that are less impressive have traditionally been used for a different purpose. If you grind it up, it becomes a perfectly blue powder to be used as a pigment, and was a popular choice for ancient Egyptian artworks, and was still used during the Renaissance by artists like Raphael. Number 12. Rose quartz. Quartz is a crystal that most people are familiar with thanks to its unmistakable shape and the fact that it used to be used in the design of clocks because of its piezoelectric properties. Despite being useful, however, there's no doubt that it's a stunning-looking shape, and furthermore, it can exist in a number of different varieties depending on any other elements that may be present in their formation. While pure quartz is colorless or transparent, impurities can create a solid colored crystal, and one of the most popular is rose quartz. The pinkish color normally forms in these crystals because of the presence of titanium, iron, or manganese, and this causes it to be somewhat between pale pink and rose red. It's also possible that some of them have smaller needle-like structures within that can further reflect the light in interesting ways. The rarest type of rose quartz, however, contain trace amounts of phosphate or aluminum and are often called crystalline rose quartz. This is a form that's mainly found in Brazil and in Maine, but must be treated particularly carefully because the coloration can fade in the presence of sunlight. Number 11. Fluorite. Fluorite, which you may also know as fluorspar, is the mineral crystal that forms from calcium fluoride. The biggest deposits of it are believed to be in South Africa, Mexico, and China, but it can be found all around the world, albeit in very small quantities, so relatively little is mined each year. In its purest form, fluorite is completely transparent, but it's allochromatic, which means it can incorporate virtually any element to give it a rich color. Fluorite can therefore be found in most colors you can think of, with the most common being purple, blue, green, and yellow, and the rarest being pink, red, brown, or black. The crystals also shine brightly under ultraviolet light, and it's because fluorite behaves like this that the word for that is fluorescence. This property also means that it's historically been used in the production of important objects, such as ornamental cups that react unexpectedly in changing light conditions. Beyond its amazing coloration and crystalline structure, fluorite is also needed in industrial applications because it's one of the best sources of fluoride, something that's necessary for the production of hydrofluoric acid and other various chemicals. Those stones that aren't deemed worthy for a collector's piece are therefore ground down for these purposes, and it drives the main demand for it worldwide. Number 10. Crocoite. Made up of lead chromate, crocoite was first discovered in the Ural Mountains in 1766. Its chemical composition means that it's toxic, but for collectors looking for unusual and beautiful crystals, it's a must-have. It naturally forms in large crystal clusters and have bright hyacinth red coloration that varies in degrees in its translucency. Those that are found aren't often seen as perfect, however, which means that the best specimens are extremely rare, and this is only compounded by the fact that they're tricky to find in the first place. This is a result of the precise conditions needed for crocoite crystals to form, which requires the presence of rocks that are rich in chromium in a lead ore bed. Some of the most stunning examples of crocoite have all come from the Dundas Extended Mine in Tasmania, Australia, where they're often found in long prismatic structures, and this has led to them being the official mineral of the island. They've also been found to a lesser degree in Brazil, the Philippines, Germany, and South Africa, with each region producing a slightly different color and vividness. Number 9. Amethyst. Amethyst is another variety of quartz, which is known for its deep purple color that forms as a result of the presence of iron, other metals, and the fact that it has been irradiated. Its name means "not intoxicated" in Greek, which was given to it because it once was believed to prevent those who held it from being intoxicated, and this was the reason why ancient Greeks used to make drinking goblets from it. Its demand for this purpose made it a highly sought-after gemstone throughout history, and it's now very popular for jewelry and is the birthstone of February. Depending on where it's found, it can range in color from a light lavender to a deep purple, and it may also have noticeable secondary colors, normally blue or red. It's found in mines across the world, from Siberia and Sri Lanka to Brazil and Uruguay, and the purity and depth of its purple is the trait that's looked for the most. The best grade is called Deep Siberian, which is up to 80% purple and has around 20% blue or red. There are other types such as Rose de France, which is much paler, but in many ways equally as beautiful. One of the most enthralling things about amethyst, though, is that it can form in geodes where hollows in rocks provide the perfect environment for the crystals to grow. Huge naturally formed amethyst deposits are occasionally discovered, and these are some of the best mineral displays you'll ever see. Number 8. Labradorite. First found in Labrador, Canada, which is the place it was named after. Labradorite is a type of aluminum rock mineral that also contains calcium, sodium, and silicon. Forming crystals that have edges of different lengths and at contradictory angles, they're normally thin and rhombic in shape, and at first you may not think there's anything too special about it because of its gray or white coloration. It's also found in Madagascar, Australia, China, and the US, and there's a very peculiar trait that's found in labradorite, and this even led to the creation of a new term to describe it, labradorescence. Because of the unique way in which the crystals form on a submicroscopic level, light can be reflected in an unusual way, which creates an iridescent optical effect. The degree to which this occurs depends on the conditions under which the labradorite was formed, not just the exact structure of the mineral, but the need for it to have cooled extremely slowly so the various ions it contains can diffuse throughout the various layers. This means that some labradorite won't show this effect at all, and in rare situations it's so prominent that it's visible most of the time. in which case, if it's been mined in Finland, it's known as spectrolite. Number 7. Carnelian. Carnelian is a mineral that's most commonly found in Indonesia, Brazil, India, Russia, and Germany. And because of its unique reddish hue, it's also the same name given to that specific color. It's a variety of chalcedony, which itself is a combination of quartz and mogonite. But what makes carnelian different is the presence of iron oxide. This leads it to develop shades from light orange to virtually black, but it's the red ones that are most prized as semi-precious stones. Often forming in geodes, carnelian crystals are commonly seen as red layers within the surrounding white chalcedony. And while these on their own are incredible display pieces, people have for thousands of years separated the carnelian to make jewelry. In fact, the earliest designs date as far back as the early Neolithic era and are at least 7,000 years old. It was very popular in ancient Greece and in the Roman Empire, where carnelian jewelry signified wealth and were used as stamps for imprinting wax, because wax doesn't stick to the stones. Nowadays, it's not considered to be as rare or special as other precious stones, but there are exceptions to this when a particularly stunning crystal specimen is found, in which case, because of its display potential, it can be extremely valuable. Number 6. Alexandrite. Named after the Greek words that mean gold white spar, chrysoberyl is a mineral that's made up of aluminum, beryllium, and oxygen. It's actually the third hardest mineral that's found naturally and has a unique way that its crystals form within cyclic twins that gives it an apparent hexagonal shape. While pure chrysoberyl is yellowish-green, there are two main alternative versions, one of which is called cymophane, and the other, which is often seen as the most beautiful, is called alexandrite. Its crystal structure is slightly different, where some of the aluminum is replaced with chromium ions, and this gives it a mainly emerald green appearance. What's amazing, however, is that depending on the light that you're looking at it with, the color of the crystal can seem to drastically change. Alexandrite taken from the Ural Mountains, for example, will look green in daylight. The moment you look at it under artificial incandescent light, it'll be red. Historically, it was thought that the largest deposits could only be found in Russia, which is partly why it was named after Alexander II, but it's now known that similarly sized ones can be found in India, Madagascar, and Tasmania. Amazingly, these ones have a slightly different chemical makeup too, and display alternate color changes, such as yellow or pink in daylight, and raspberry red in artificial light. Unsurprisingly, it's the ones that show the sharpest color differential that are highly prized, but unusual patterns in large stones can also attract the attention of collectors. Number 5. Malachite. Malachite is an amazingly beautiful mineral that's found in deposits all over the world, from the Ural Mountains in Russia to countries in Africa, Asia, and across the southwestern United States. As a copper carbonate, it develops a rich green coloration and creates uneven monoclinic crystals, but it's rare to find an individual crystal on its own. Instead, malachite usually forms in subterranean caverns because of the need for water to help it crystallize, and this means that it can create stalagmites or stalactites, as well as large, gloopy masses. Its chemical structure is very similar to that of azurite, and the two are commonly found in the same regions as each other. But whereas azurite can be difficult to obtain, malachite is far more common. Its vivid color, along with the incredible structures it forms, has led to the perfect specimens being highly sought after, and it's taken on a role in a number of belief systems too. In 17th century Spain, for example, it was believed that a piece of malachite would help people sleep, to keep evil spirits away, and to also protect against contagious diseases and bring good fortune. Conversely, in ancient Egypt, the color green was deeply linked with the ideas of death, resurrection, and reinvigorating your life, and it was believed that in the afterlife there was a place called the Field of Malachite, where you'd be able to live your life like you did before, but without feeling any pain or suffering. Number 4. Celestite. Celestite, which is also known as celestine, is a gloriously blue mineral that's made up of strontium sulfate. Strontium is the element that's normally used in fireworks to give a blue color, and its presence in celestite crystals is what makes them so mesmerizing. Translating to mean celestial, because it was once believed to reflect the power of the heavens, it's normally found in sedimentary rocks as geodes, but can also form in various different ways. The world's largest known geode is a celestite one and can be seen at the Crystal Cave on an island in Lake Erie, Ohio. Measuring a huge 35 feet or 11 meters in diameter at its widest, it contains celestite crystals that are up to 18 inches or 46 centimeters across and are thought to weigh as much as 300 pounds or 146 kilos. They can be found all over the world, and in the same way as other crystals can take on wildly different colors. Pure celestite is blue, but white, pink, green, and red versions are possible too, often because of the presence of calcium or barium. One of the most surprising things about celestite, however, is that it's important in the growth of specific species of protozoa. Most of the ones that form skeletons will do with silica, but there's one called Acantheria that consumes and makes its entire skeletal structure from celestite. Number 3. Citrine quartz. While quartz may be one of the most abundant types of crystal that's found worldwide, second only after feldspars, the colored varieties are far less common, and one of the rarest is known as citrine quartz. Mainly found in the state of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil, their color can range from light yellow to a much darker brown, and this is the result of the presence of specific impurities, usually ferric hydroxide. Because of its association with bringing good fortune to businessmen, it's often referred to as the merchant stone or the money stone, and the first record of it being a highly prized stone dates back to the time of the ancient Greeks. On extremely rare occasions, citrine quartz may also develop alongside amethyst, and this multicolored mineral is called ametrine. The difficulty for collectors with citrine is that there are a number of ways to forge it, such as by heat treating amethyst or a smoky quartz. These can never truly replicate the real thing though, and will usually have small lines within the crystal instead of having a cloudy or smoky appearance you'd expect from a true citrine. Once they've been cut, it's also very difficult to differentiate a citrine from a topaz, but even then you can find out for certain by testing the stone's hardness. Number 2. Iron pyrite. There's no doubt that the most precious metal of all is gold, and people have been digging, searching, and fighting for it for thousands of years. Those who look for it are, of course, mainly doing so because of its high value. But there's a mineral that countless people have found over the years and believed to be gold, despite being something else entirely. Often called fool's gold because of this mistake, iron pyrite isn't anywhere near as valuable, but in many ways its crystalline structure is equally, if not more beautiful. The word pyrite is Greek for stone or mineral which strikes fire, and was given to a number of stones that would produce sparks if they were hit by steel. Often found in quartz veins, sedimentary rock, metamorphic rock, and sometimes as a mineral in fossils, its chemical formula is iron 2 disulfide, and it's the most abundant of all sulfide minerals. Iron pyrite normally develops cuboid-shaped crystals, as well as shapes called framboids, which are described as being raspberry-shaped masses, but will also take on a variety of other shapes that are influenced by the surrounding conditions. It's these defined structures that are the best way to tell it apart from gold, along with its brittleness, and once it's exposed to air, it'll slowly start to decompose. Despite its amazing appearance, iron pyrite has long been seen as no more than an industrial mineral because gold is so much more popular, and it's used in the production of sulfur dioxide as a cathode in lithium batteries, as well as in crystal radios. It has had its time as a decorative crystal too, though. It was commonly used during the Victoria era to make marcasite jewelry. Today, it's still highly important in Thai culture, where it's believed to be a sacred substance that can help ward off black magic, the actions of demons, and evil in general. Number 1. Bismuth. Bismuth is an elemental metal with the atomic number 83 and is one of the most stable known naturally occurring elements. Amazingly, this means that its one isotope, bismuth-209, has the longest half-life of anything that's ever been studied, and it's estimated to be 1 billion times longer than the age of the universe itself. It's a commonly used metal across a wide range of industries, from cosmetics to medicinal uses, and bismuth alloys are increasingly being used instead of lead because it's nowhere near as toxic. Despite its high atomic number, it was actually one of the first 10 metals to ever be discovered, and was known during ancient times when it was often mistaken for lead and tin. It was previously known as tectum argenti, which means silver being made, and shows that people once thought it was a stage in the process of the production of silver, which led to civilizations such as the Inca using it in ceremonial objects. What's particularly stunning about bismuth, however, is that its crystal structure is truly one of a kind, and you can even safely make your own ones at home. Naturally, the metal is white or silvery pink, but because of the way that the crystals grow faster at the edge than in the center, they will form a spiral stair-shaped design. As with all metals, bismuth reacts with oxygen in the air to create a layer of oxide on its surface, and the varying thickness of this causes it to become iridescent, and it reflects all these colors of the rainbow. It's very unusual for this to happen in nature, however, because it's normally only present in compounds, but once it's been purified and heated to its melting point at around 520 degrees Fahrenheit, it'll begin to cool and crystallize in this way. Watch our nature playlist for more top 15 videos about beautiful nature. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best nature videos.